session is going to be 2 hours. It's going to be a hot one.
I hope so.
Right. By the way, Yvonne Sum is actually brought in from Sydney. She's one of the pioneers on parenting, and we may wonder why at this stage, at our age, we are talking about parenting. She's not talking about parenting babies, but actually parenting big babies. Now, these big babies are actually CEOs of companies, presidents of institutions, chairmen of committees and all, and she is actually a specialist in that. Now, at the same time, she also specializes in transformation of leadership. And actually, I understand that she is also here, and she will be giving various workshops after the seminar here to various other corporate bodies as well as professional bodies. Now, Yvonne Sum is also known as the opera of the East, or to be more correct, of the South. And as opera of the East and South, you spell trouble, big trouble for you, especially in the question and answer session. So if you don't ask questions, she might ask you questions. Right? Now, at the same time, Yvonne Sum is a Malaysian, very active in Malaysia as well, although she is residing in Australia. And actually, she is the daughter of a very prominent architect as well as arbitrator in Malaysia. And I think you have heard of Mr. Jerry Sum. He's actually here today with us, keeping a watching brief on his daughter. Although I heard that he's supposed to be the chaperone, but I think he's keeping a watching brief, being an arbitrator. Now, Yvonne Sum is also a professional dentist. And I think it's time, when we talk about dentists and surveying of inner space, it's time I shut my gap, just in case she goes further to survey those gaps. Now, may I introduce you to Yvonne Sum.
Thank you, Eddie. Sometimes when you get introduced, it's actually a tough thing because you don't know how much of your bio you want to share with someone. And Eddie actually emailed me and said, you know, how do you want me to introduce you? And I said, do it your way. It's your show. And the reason why I think he's actually elaborated quite a bit is when you elaborate quite a bit, it shows that a lot of people don't know you yet. Well, maybe so. But he's promised me to be a bit brave, and therefore he has. So I tell you a story of the First Lady of the President, Eleanor Roosevelt. How many of you know Eleanor Roosevelt? One? I thought you guys are going for knowledge-based, rich, robust, developed nation, Malaysia by 2020. How many people know Eleanor Roosevelt? 3, 4. Well, maybe this is the wrong crowd. But anyway, this happened in the States, so I guess they would know who the First Lady is, and that was a long time ago. That was before probably some of your time. You're probably very young ones. And the MC who was introducing her basically went up to the podium and said, enough said about her, because you know her. Let me introduce Eleanor Roosevelt. And that's it. So maybe you don't know me yet. But at the end of this, the next time Eddie introduces me, he'll say, oh, you know her. Oprah from the South, Yvonne Sum. And that will be great. I'll know I've made it in Malaysia. It has been a real vision of mine to be back here. We're talking about realizing visions, and when Eddie and his organizing committee, headed by Nasim, Nushat Ali Nasim, invited me to be here, I was thrilled. Firstly, because it brings me back to the fact that my father being in the building industry brings me back to the fold. The fact that I'm actually very interested in parenting, I felt that I'd come back to help, you know, where it all started from. So thanks, Dad, for being here. And the fact that my vision was actually to be here presenting with my family members being here. So that's realized some of my personal visions as well. So the questions I'm going to ask you today is, do you have a personal vision? Because the speakers prior to this opening have asked you and told you about Wawasan 2020. You know about Vision 2020 for Malaysia. But what's your personal vision? Have you ever thought about a strategic plan for yourself? Have you actually sat down with your partner, your co-parent, and sat down and worked out a strategic plan for your family? Do you have a vision that is, like the mission statements with values and vision statements that our corporations have? How many have that for their family? No. Okay, how many have that for themselves? 1, 2. Okay, 3. Goal setting is sort of there, but not quite. How many actually have a vision where you can actually play a movie in your head with a full soundtrack of how you'd like to be, say, in 2020? And I dare you that at the end of these 2 hours, that I would have at least presented to you some things that will make you think a little bit more along those lines. Eddie, once again, probably hasn't dared to tell you this story, but it's amazing how he got me here. How many of you love spam in the emails? Nobody. That's good. I don't either. Well, Eddie, as he was asking about, SMSing you dirty jokes from down under, he was actually emailing me stuff, spamming me, and I thought, who in the hell is Eddie Wong? Don't know this guy, and he's spamming me. Now, my intention in life is things always happen for a reason. And my intention is to be a presenter around the world. Now, Eddie Wong, I don't know, he could be in Hong Kong, he could be in China, he could be in Singapore, he could be in Malaysia. Who knows, he might be a Vietnamese. But I thought, okay, I'm going to spam him back. So I sent him my business plan with some questionnaires about how I think I could improve my business globally. And sent a questionnaire to him. And some of you probably got my spam. Probably my dad did. He replied me and said, guess what? We're looking for a speaker for an ISM Congress. And I looked at your website, and this is interesting. And that was the first time we actually met. So spam, if turned to your advantage, can be something that will work for you. And what I found was, as we chatted about it, because I was so strong in my intention that I didn't spam back things that were not useful, because in the back of my mind I knew what I wanted in a vision, here I am today. So don't let the little things in your life get your goat. The best revenge is success. Give it back to them in a different form. So that's how I'm here today, and thank goodness, because of my intention to be here, Eddie has become my vehicle to be the miracle that's happening here today. Thank you, Eddie. And that's a sequel to the story. He told me later the reason why he got my email address. Now this one, maybe it's a pickup line, I don't know. But he said, well, your dad was sending me stuff, and I'd copied his email address by accident. All the addresses that drops down. And I just sent out, because I don't know how to correct that in my computer. And there you go. How to pick up chicks on the internet. There you go. That's another tip. Right. So, enough said now about me. More said about you. Do you dare to now survey your inner space? Surveyors, I believe, survey the heights of mountains. Surveyors survey the depths of the deepest earth or oceans. Now, what is this about surveying inner space? Let me tell you a story. There was once a seeker. The seeker went on a quest for the secrets of success. He went to the highest mountains, climbed the highest mountains. He went down to the abysses of the deepest oceans. He went on camels in the desert. He went to the deep, dark jungles of Amazon in a quest to look for the secrets of success. And he came home a bit dejected, because nowhere could he find the secret of success. So as he was sitting in his home district, taking a walk on the beach, looking at the sunset, he noticed something in the distance on the beach. Now, sometimes it takes us to come home to actually realize some of the things that we leave far and wide to look for, and it's right here at home. And I'm asking you to look here in your hearts. What is it inside you, inside the matrix that makes up yourself, that has all the answers? One of the things I come from with parenting is I believe that we all come with the inner genius to be able to be the best we can be. So what we expect of our children, we should be able to do ourselves. How many of you give music lessons now to your children? Because they want to be better. I can't play violin, so they're going to have violin lessons. Or, I was never good in math. Make sure I have math tuition. Right? But we forget sometimes that the best way for children to learn, including our staff members, or our fellow professionals, or the peers that we play with, is to be a role model ourselves. So when was the last time you looked inwards to look at the natural inner genius that is you? Who has watched the movie The Matrix? Okay, more movie buffs, good, good, good. I'm getting the audience. You're a tough audience. I'm not getting some hands up here. Okay, movies. Let's go to the movies. The Matrix. Now, the lead character was Neo. And in this movie, he meets a character called Morpheus. Because he was in search of something. He knew that the world he was living in wasn't right, but this is a sci-fi movie, by the way, for those of you who don't know. So Neo is in this sci-fi movie, well, in his sci-fi world in the future, and he meets Morpheus, who was hopefully going to help him find his world. And Morpheus then says to him, did you know that the world that we live in is pulled down over your eyes to hide the truth? That you live in a dream world, that we're inside a map that's not the territory. What's the reality is inside you. It's inside the matrix. So Morpheus said, Neo, you can take the blue pill and live in ignorance bliss, and let the world happen to you the way it's all planned by the powers that be. Let Malaysians lead Wawasan 2020, Vision 2020 into the future, and you just be going along with it. Take the blue pill. Or you can take the red pill and find the truth of your reality, your inner reality. So I dare you. Those who want to take the blue pill, you can now take your bags and leave. Because the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you how you can take the red pill and start thinking about how you, too, can track and survey your inner matrix that will find you the exact resources that you will need. We talk about natural resources in our environment. The reality is the natural resources best is actually inside you. You can get as much knowledge as possible, but go out there and seek it like the seeker did. But in the end, homegrown, something inside is what will make us tick. And I'm going to explore the matrix of you with you today, if you dare to. But before we do that, I'm going to explore with you something called someone's matrix that we're all quite familiar with. Someone who has actualized his vision that we, through ourselves as children right up to now, over the last 50 years, know of his work. Walt Disney had a vision over 50 years ago when he first put Mickey Mouse on paper and the first animated movie came to pass. Do you think that Walt Disney had a creative intelligence, an inner knowing that nobody had done before him? How many of you have been to Disneyland or heard of Disneyland? Yes! Okay, come on, guys. Who has not heard of Disneyland? Put your hand up. Okay, there are some people who don't know what they don't know. That's what it is. I was speaking in the back of the room, and somebody says, in Malaysia, it's very hard for people to kind of get involved with the teacher. In our teaching system, you won't be able to get them to even ask questions. They just sit there and expect you to give them the lessons. Well, if you're going to expect that from me today, sorry, that's not going to happen. Okay, one more time. How many people know Disneyland? That's much better. How many have seen Disney movies? Yes! Disney, Pixar. Not just the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, but right through the newest ones. Cars. Who's seen Cars recently? Yes! Good on ya! Well, that was the latest, because I've got 2 kids, so I've got no choice but to watch Disney movies. Walt Disney has touched our lives because he had one vision. He created the first animated movie on Mickey Mouse because he wanted to change animation from what it was. And how he did this is amazing, because there's a man called Robert Dilts who started studying the genius of Walt Disney and actually put it down in a book. So if you're interested in that, it's called The Strategies of Genius, Book 1 by Robert Dilts, and it actually lines up to you how Disney actually created his vision from within. Walt Disney actually started by actually having his own house have 3 rooms. 3 rooms. First room is the dreamer room. Second room he has is the realist room. And the third room that he had is the critic room. Now, how many of you would actually even bother to design your house? I mean, I know there's some architects here, with that in mind. Because he really felt his environment could really support his inner self. So he actually designed it so that in his dreamer room, when he was dreaming, anything is possible. He painted it in multicolors. He had throw cushions on the floor, no standard table and chairs. He had multiple crayons in color. He had multiple, well, at that time probably they had phonographs and not cassette players or CD players. But he had music and all sorts of things in there so that he wanted to create a space where he could create. And in that space, he actually sat as a creator would. Not in a stoic, sit down on the desk, punch on the computer type posture, but he'd lay on